Hello, everyone. Welcome to Data College, where we help you build data solutions to your data problems. Today, we are focusing on Power Automate, where we're going to help you set up your workflows, automations. And today, we have four main things we're going to cover. We are going to help you build a system or a workflow that is able to get all email attachments for you into a particular folder in Google Drive. We are going to also cover building an automation that will help you get email attachments to Box folders for those who use Box. Then we are going to work on Dropbox as well for those who use Dropbox. Then finally, we are also going to look at how to uh, create a log of all emails that comes whenever you receive an email, so that at the end of the year or maybe at the end of a particular season or a project, you are able to make an analysis and say that, okay, how many emails came from this person, came from that, and all that. So straight away, let's get started. You should have either a Google Drive, a Gmail account or Google Drive, or a Box folder, or a Dropbox. If you don't have any of that, you can try and sign up. Let's go straight away to Power Automate. So you can go to powerautomate.com. Then here we are. Power Automate is actually a Microsoft platform. So I have an account here already. It is a free account, and you can, for the purposes of this training, you can also create your free account and follow us in this tutorial. Great. So I'm just gonna open that, sign in to my account. Great. And that should work. Great. And I'm gonna stay signed in for some time. Yeah, here we go. So now we have signed into our Power Automate. You can also go, if you go to powerautomate.com and you receive an info that you need to sign up, you can go ahead and sign up. If you already have a Microsoft account, you can use that account, free version of what we are going to do today. Now, here is our Power Automate home, the online workflow. We are going to basically build a workflow, and we are dealing with receiving emails, making a log of emails and keeping an attachment of emails in a particular folder. We are dealing with three different platforms today. So basically, there are some advanced features here. The menu icons here, the sidebar here, which has the menu icons, there are some of the things that are advanced, and we're not going to go through it. It requires a premium account, which we are not going to cover for the purpose of everyone. We are going to be dealing with flows, right? My flows, where you are able to create workflows, where you customize it for however you want it to work like. And then, yeah, so the flows that you have, they will be here. If you want to create a new flow, you can come here and start creating one. If you want to check out the templates that are available, you can check that. The good thing about Power Automate is that there are so many templates that are available for you. We will look at a couple of those templates, but if you are a first timer, you might want to start from a template. But if you interact with it for some time and you think that you are comfortable, you can go proceed to build your customized one. And the good thing about the template as well is that you can actually customize the template. So do not worry about starting with a template if you are a first timer in here. So straight away, we are going to start to create our workflow. So you're going to go to create and start an automated workflow, right? You are going to start an automated workflow, and you have to give it a name, right? You are going to give it a name, and today we are going to give it a name that get attachments, right? Get attachments. Now, get attachments. So that is a basic name of the flow we are creating. And now every flow in Power Automate should start with something, right? Something should happen to trigger a workflow. And today, since we are dealing with emails, then we will want to trigger a workflow if an email arrives in our inbox. And today we're going to use Gmail, right? So the starting point of our flow is when an email arrives. So in the triggers, you can search and go through all the triggers. There are a lot of triggers in here. You don't need to scroll through all of them. Just start typing. If you type Gmail, you will see that all the triggers that are associated with Gmail will come. The first one is what we are going to use. It says when an email arrives. So you are going to create that. And then we can say that create the flow when an email arrives. Now that we have this empty flow, basically we want to do some customizations. So the question is, when an email arrives, that is where your workflow starts from. What do you want to do? What do you want to happen for you? What are we going to set automatically to happen? First of all, you have to uh, customize or maybe make some few advanced changes in here. Remember, today we are building a flow that will get all email attachments for us automatically. We don't need to. You don't need to go to your inbox and download an attachment. Attachment will be kept for you anytime an email arrives. That means that we need to make some advanced uh, options like taking care of attachment, so that emails that do not come with attachment, we don't want the flow to be running when emails are when an email comes without an attachment. It's going to cause a lot of runtime and it might get slow. Yeah, but of course, you can leave it as it is by default. So the few changes we are making in here is that we want emails that have attachments, right? So emails that have attachment, we want them, and then we want to also include our attachment, because we will have to get that particular file as well, and then push it into a particular location in there. So having done that, we are okay with the first initial trigger point. So we can hide the advanced options. The next step is to just click on the next step, right? That is your initial. This is the initial trigger point. Uh, we start with the next point. Great. So we are going to start with Google Drive. So we are going to first build a flow that will get all email attachments to a Google Drive folder. So we have our Google Drive here. So basically, our Google Drive, and then we have a folder called email attachments, and we will want all emails to be here. So if you have a Google Drive, you can create a folder where you want emails to be pushed into that, or you can just leave it like that. So let's go straight away and start. So we will look for uh, in all the actions. You can look for Google Drive, right? You can just look for Google Drive, and you can see that the Google Drive has come. And then beneath Google Drive, there are actions, right? We have create a file, list file in a folder, copy file, delete file, extract. So these are all the actions that can happen when the trigger starts. But we want to focus on creating a file. When an email arrives, let a file be created for us in the Google Drive. So you're going to select create a file. When you select create a file, we are going to set up the parameters. The first parameter is the folder path, where you want the file to be stored. The second one is the file name, the name that you want to give the file. And the third one is the content of the file. So we are going to go straight and then connect this to our Google Drive. So I'm going to press the folder picker at the far end here. Then I will connect to Google Drive. Now, uh, if you are not signed in, it will ask you to sign into your Google Drive and give permission. I have already signed in and I have connected that. So you see my Google Drive here. So if I want it to be in the parent folder of the Google Drive, I will just select Google Drive. It will push the attachment into the parent folder. But if I have a specific folder into which I want all attachments to be placed, then I need to go further and then look at the root folder and select the particular folder where I want my attachments to be. In our case here, we want our attachment to be in email attachment. So you're going to grab that email attachment. Great. That's good. The second option is the file name. Now, the file name is the name you want to give the file. Basically, it is good to name the file by the original name it came with. So if you click on the file name, you come to the file and you see the pop-up in there. There are two options here as well. You can define a dynamic content, right, which is predefined for us here. And that's what we are mostly going to use. Advanced users can also define expressions to write expressions, concatenate, length of format, date, time, and all that. A lot of expressions in there that you can use. But we are going to look for attachment name. File name is attachment name, right? Then immediately we created attachment, right? Immediately we created file name as the file name as attachment name. You can see that automatically uh, Power Automate has realized that an email may come with multiple attachments. So it has automatically changed the whole thing to a flow that will apply to each attachment. So you can see something here that happened here that apply to each, right? I didn't want to start creating this at the beginning. You could have just gone at the beginning and start creating apply to each, but for the benefit of new users, just go ahead and start creating your file. Power Automate is able to detect and see whether or not it needs to apply to multiple content or uh, files in there. Now, the content of the file is obviously, if you click on that, it brings us to the bottom here where we have attachment content, and we are going to select that. Great. So that is the basic setup for the flow, which will be able to get us the email attachment into this particular Google Drive folder that we have selected. Great. Mentioning again, just select create a file as the next action after your initial trigger, which you configured. Give the folder path, the file name, and then the file content. Right. So I'm going to save that, and then we are going to test our flow and see if it works. Right. We are going to test it. We are going to do a quick manual test and just say that let's test it by sending an email. So we're going to go to our Gmail and then do an email, send an email right now and say that this email is going to Data College official, and the subject is test email, and then the content is gonna be hello. We can leave it like that. Hello. Then we are gonna select our attachment. Basically, we have some two sample attachments here for demonstration. Selecting our attachment. Now that our attachment is selected, if we go back to Power Automate, you can see that it is automatically running. I mean, the flow is being tested, and wow, that works. You see, so within 1 minute, the email arrived. 1 second, you can see the processing time here. 1 second, the email arrives, and it takes 5 seconds to download all attachments and push them into a particular Google Drive folder. And now let's go to the Google Drive folder and see if we have our attachment there. And there we go. So you can see in our Google Drive file, we have our attachment here saved just about some few seconds ago. Great. So that is how you set up a flow to download, automatically get attachments to your Google Drive folder. And this is automated. You don't need to work on anything. We are going to talk about some other aspects of the flow. Now we go to the second step. Now, for those of you who use Box, right, you have an account on Box Online. Instead of putting or pushing your attachments to Google Drive, you may want to push your attachment to Box. Now let's set up that. Now, instead of going to go and set up a new flow again, we are going to set what we call a parallel flow so that when one email arrives, it's able to push attachments to Google Drive, and it's also going that same flow is able to push to Box as well. So now we are going to just come back to our flow. If you miss your point, just come to the sidebar here and click on My Flows, and then Get Attachment is there. There's a pen here which you can use to edit. Now, when we come to our flows, you're going to hover around the arrow here, and then you see the plus icon there where you can click on it and say Add a parallel branch. And we are going to add a parallel branch. And our parallel branch we are adding is the Box branch. Those of you who use Box Online. So you are going to search for Box here. If you click on Box, you can see that the actions that come with Box, just as the Google Drive, are all listed here as well. And here we are going to create a file on Box as well. Remember, if you don't have your Box sign in, it will ask you to sign in and connect it before this will work well. So if you have Box, you can sign that in. So I'm going to select the same parameters that we set up for the Google Sheet are the same here. The file path, file name, and then file content. But here we are going to do something different. Instead of selecting a generic file folder path, we are going to say that for every email address, we want Power Automate to create a folder in our Box folder for everyone and keep their attachments in their folders. So at the end of the year, if we received 2,000 emails from 100 different senders or email addresses, we are going to have 100 email, 100 folders, and the folders will be named with the email addresses. And for each email address, all the attachments that come in will be put in there. So we are doing something slightly different from what we did in the Google Drive. Remember, this same procedure can be applied to the Google Drive, but we are just trying to show you other ways of doing it to suit whatever need that you may have. So instead of selecting the folder path here, you're going to click on the folder path parameter or the box in here. Then we are going to say that for the file path, we want it to be, let's say, the sender's email address. So email address, the message was sent from. So from, that will be the folder path, right? So it will go to the base box folder and then from. If you also want to, let's say you have the parent box folder called email attachment, and you want how do you call it to be added to the attachment, you can do all that, right? But we are not doing that now, right? We are just keeping the from, you know. Then the second one is the file name, the same thing as we did today. We for this one, let us say the file name should be attachment, right? Attachment name. Then let's try and see if we can add underscore the name of the person who sent it, or maybe the since it's going to be in the person's email, we are going to say underscore the time, date, and time the attachment was received. So an underscore, right? Then the file content here is going to be attachment content. These are the three parameters, right? So depending on your needs, you can tweak the parameters to suit how you want the attachment to be placed and how you want to see it. When I save that, we are going to test these as well. Again, we are going to test all the flows. I'm going to test all the flows again and say that instead of saying manually testing, we can say that test from a recently used trigger, right? So we don't have to be sending an email all over again and again and again. So we test that. And when that is tested, uh, we will see that a particular flow is working. Yeah, we have an error in here. Basically, we have an error in here because of the files that are already in here is giving us an error. Remember, we are replicating, how do you call it, the test. So for our automation, the second one, which is box, it has worked well. So we will go to our box folder and say box.com, and then we will sign in. If you don't have a box account, you can create a free one. It gives you that. And you can see the files are here. Two files just got into the box folder a couple of seconds ago. Great. If you want us to test that and be sure whether if it was that, it was what that which really happened, you can trash this as well. We can go into the email attachment in the drive as well, and we trash that. Then we go to our Power Automate. Then we will test all over again, right? Let's just be sure that it's not something that is already there. We are testing real-time testing. We are using the previously successful trigger, the first one, and we are testing with that. Great. So you just wait and you see all of them working, right? You see they are all running, all the flows are running, and they are all successful. As I mentioned, this one wasn't successful, the Google Drive wasn't successful previously because the files already existed in that folder. Now all of them have worked. If we go back to the box and we refresh, you see that the folder has come back here. And if you go back to the email attachment on Google Drive as well, you have your attachment in there. Great. Lastly, we want to do the third attachment automation, which is for those of you who use Dropbox. So because we are going to retest this again, I'm going to just go ahead and delete this again. Yes. So just before I delete, remember when we were giving the name of the folders in the box, we used the attachment name underscore time and date it was sent. And you can see that in here. That's perfectly designed in here. And we are going to delete this and continue. Now we go back to our Power Automate and we are going to add another parallel action to our flow. Hover around where the uh, parent tree is, click on it and say add parallel branch. Parallel branch here so that you don't have to be pushing that. We could have gone in a series form. The problem with the series one is that it will have to finish triggering one before the other one will trigger. But if we add parallel, as we saw previously, it will trigger all of them at the same time. So we are going to look for Dropbox. Again, here we created a free Dropbox account for the purposes of this training, and you can also do that. In Dropbox as well, an action is there called create a file, similar to that of Box and Google Drive. The same thing that happened there is the same thing we are using, file path. Here as well, you can decide and say that for the file path, I want the file path to be the sender's name, right? So it will create a folder for each sender with their names as the name of the folder. Then the file name here, we are going to say that it is the attachment name, then underscore maybe senders date time, the same thing we did there, right? Underscore date time or anything you can define in there. So underscore date time. Now, one good thing about Power Automate is that the boxes in here, the dynamic content we are defining, you can decide to add your own content to it. If I decide to add underscore underscore, whatever I add in there will be recorded as part of the name of each file that comes in there, right? The file content, when we click on it, we are going to pick the attachment content as well. So that is the third one. This is also done. I'm going to save that as well. Before we trigger that, let's look at into our folders. Refresh. In our box folder, there's nothing in there. Email attachment folder is empty. We are not even using that here. In our drive, Google Drive folder, it is empty. And we are going to open our Dropbox folder as well, which is going to generally be empty for us. Nothing in there. So, having done that, we go to our Power Automate and then we would save again just to ensure that everything is saved. Then we are going to test again with the previously successful trigger that we had. I'm going to pick the first one there. When we test that, we see that this. So you see, I'm going to zoom out. You see that all three flows work at the same time. They are all successful. You can see that this took 3 seconds. So it also helps you to appreciate how each of them takes, how long each of them takes. You can see that Dropbox, which is the last parallel one we added, took only 3 seconds. Box took 6 seconds, as you can see in there. And then Google Drive took 5 seconds. That means Dropbox is pretty fast in here. Hmm? It seems, right? We're going to refresh and see where our files are. You can see that it created a folder called Data College, right, where it kept our attachment, which is the name of the attachment, and then the time in the Dropbox, right? And if we go into the box as well, let's refresh and then we will see Data College in there. And when we open, we have our attachment. We go to Drive, Google Drive, we refresh, and we have our attachment in there. So one flow is able to do the automation for you. You don't need to do anything. Once this is done, you sleep. Whenever your emails come, your attachment is there. All you need to do, if you forget about a particular attachment, it helps you. You don't need to be looking for attachment. Just go into the folder. If you have organized it by the email address or the sender's name, it is going to be very much easier for you to work with. If you are in an organization that have a group email, you can as well organize that. Now let's go back to our flows and check a couple of things in there before we wrap up this session. Now, for each of the flows you set up, one thing you can do, you can all when you come to my flows, you can edit the flow, right? And you can share with someone, and the person can also leverage on that. And then there are three dots here, which helps you with so many things. I think this is very important to mention. There are sometimes you wish to stop a particular automation. You click on the three here and you can turn it off. If you turn it off, you are saying that the flow should stop running, right? You can check you can export it. You can send a copy to someone. You can check the run history. You can check the detail, tell you all the times that it ran, whether something failed or not. And you can click on that. It will tell you the individual things that failed and all that. The good thing about Power Automate is one of the good things is actually is the run history, right? You can look at the history. It says start, duration, status. Yeah, so if you want to monitor the history, I advise that you add a custom column in there. It helps you to filter for troubleshooting purposes each of the runs and check those who the status for each of them. That's very helpful. So that's it about a couple of the few things that you should know about the flows. Feel free to play around it. If you're new here, don't worry, you're going to get used to it. Set up flows. Now, before we continue, one of the things we could have done, as I mentioned in the beginning, is to have started from the template, right? So if you're new here and all that we did, it seems too much for you, you can just start it from a template. An example, getting attachments. So you start from the template. So in the template, how to use a template is very important, right? That for us, there are some times you really don't know how to do what you want to do. So you can just come into the template. Then when you come here, whatever you're looking for, feel free to type and search in here. So we are looking for attachment, Gmail, something. So we can just type attachment, right? And then enter, it filters that out for us. You can see that save Gmail attachments, your Google Drive, and then Gmail attachment to your Dropbox folder. You see, so there are some of these one attachment in there, but you may have to customize it if you want your folders to be organized in a particular way. That is why we did not use a template. We did a customization, so you know how to do the customization and build it for yourself. It's very simple. If you get used to it, you will not even come to the template at all, because you are able to build dynamic and more flexible workflows for you. So that's it for today. The second part of this video deals with setting up the flow that will log emails, so you are able to perform some analysis on it. Check the next video down there in your comments and all that video. The second version is there. Thanks today for joining us in our Power Automate tutorial 1, where we set up a workflow for attachments. Subscribe to this channel, like, and then share to promote this channel. Thank you.